There are 707 days. Yeah, we're going to do that every week until the 2024 presidential elections. Hi, Brian. Hi, Dean. Um, welcome to Dinner for Schmucks. The Schmucks are not us, though. We're going to be talking a lot about the Schmucks today. But first, I had an I had an ask me anything within reason on Thanksgiving. And I did something that I admonish people not to do all the time. So I wanted to issue a correction and an apology. Right before I started the show, I read a headline that said that the majority of people dying from COVID are now vaccinated people, which really freaked me out. And I hadn't had time to read the election. So one, the election, no, the article. So one, it's a lesson in read the article, and two, never trust headlines, because as it turns out, one reason that's the case is because more people are vaccinated, so there are a larger pool of people getting COVID. But the other reason is because of the way they define vaccinated people. You could be considered vaccinated if you only got the first one or two shots, depending on if you got Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson or Moderna. So as far as I'm concerned, if you only got those first shots and didn't get a booster or only got one booster 2 years ago, you're not vaccinated. So anyway, I apologize for my panic. But it was a little disturbing. Hey, Jen. So today, I want to talk about, of course,
Hello.
the fact that along with its racism and misogyny and anti-immigrant hatred and anti-Muslim hatred, and you know, the list, that anti-Semitism is now undeniably. Hi, Danielle. Undeniably. Hi, Waj. Wow, they just keep coming in. Um, a major a part of the platform of the Republican Party. I don't want to hear, well, one person pushed back or said that what's his name was a bad guy. There's no full-throated unified condemnation. And unless and until that's the case, and unless and until the Republican Party rejects anybody who holds such views and keeps such company from becoming a candidate in their party, then they are the problem as much as anybody else, even if they're not saying the quiet part out loud. Okay, so we're going to get into that because I think it's well, obviously it's important, but it's a trend that is becoming increasingly alarming, and I don't see enough pushback in the media. So we will be going there. But before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about what's happening with Twitter, because again, it's all like it's part of the problem. Like Twitter is now a tool of a white supremacist who's not even American. I mean, not that that matters, because so many Americans are white supremacists. But Twitter, which was really one of the most useful and valuable information hubs, has been allowed to devolve into the cesspool of the worst kind of hatred, and it's being run into the ground by a guy who, one, could have done a lot more useful things with $44 billion, and two, like, has all of this power accruing to him simply because he has money, doesn't even understand, hi Cliff,
hey,
what free speech is. So Waj, can you help me out here? One question is, why are there billionaires? And two, why doesn't anybody in a position of power on that side of things even know what free speech is? It's quite maddening.
Yeah, so hopefully this is proof that the billionaires will not save us and that the billionaires have failed us. And I think it's also reflects the mediocrity of so many of these mostly white men, it's not just white men, who have been allowed to fail up in life because they have been ensconced and protected with privilege and wealth. And if you look at Elon Musk, he made his money thanks in part due to wealthy parents who made part of his money thanks in part due to working in apartheid South Africa, right? And he didn't create
in emerald mines, which I'm
Yeah.
sure were really good for the workers.
He he didn't the narrative of Musk is very similar to the bullshit narrative of Trump, which made them so successful. The myth of the Ubermensch, the chosen one, the brilliant man with the Midas touch, right? The art of the deal. So here's Musk and Trump, who somehow through their own ingenuity and cunning and wit were able to evolve and become like these brilliant men of power and wealth and influence, right? And let's not forget, Donald Trump created the fiction. This is the power of narratives and story. He created the perception of the art of the deal, a book he did not write, and a book that came out when he had lost millions of dollars and declared bankruptcy. But Trump was so synonymous with wealth and success that here you go. Here's a great pop cultural reference. In Home Alone 2, which was on TV last week, when Macaulay Culkin's character goes to New York, who does he meet in the lobby? Donald Trump. That's how powerful.
Can't they CGI him out of that fucking thing at this point?
I mean, but that's how powerful the image is, right? And so with Musk, the narrative has been built over years very deliberately. Brilliant man who bucks the system and has his wealth and created Tesla and taken us to the moon. Even Joe Rogan, yes, Joe Rogan said, why are people criticizing him? He's brilliant. And now what you're seeing is the emperor has no clothes, right? They're revealing their mediocrity, their vulgarity, their white nationalism. And specifically with Musk, I think the reason why he bought Twitter is kind of on a dare to realize, oh shit, I'm kind of stuck with it. Oh, but you know what? Even if I lose 44 billion, I'll still be the third richest man on earth. And specifically, I take people literally and seriously. I'm not Ben Carson. I don't know what's in their heart. I'm not God. I don't know their intentions. If you look at Elon Musk's activities, just on Twitter, his recent tweets, his promotion and elevation of the most horrid anti-Semites, white nationalists, and racists on Twitter, it is very clear he has a fascist white nationalist worldview, just like Peter Thiel, billionaire of PayPal, who has funded white nationalist candidates, right? And for these folks, including Trump, they want a world in which they are not criticized, where it's free speech for them, none for us, cruelty for them, but they demand civility, right? Safe space for them, but none for us. And so what you're seeing is Musk's deliberate, I think, kind of evisceration of Twitter and all public squares in which billionaires and his club are allowed to be criticized. Like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And I think it's one of those situations where the reason why you're seeing, I'll give you an example. I have a friend, very wealthy, who said, I agree with what Musk is doing. I'm like, what do you mean? He's a disruptor. I'm like, maybe he's just an idiot. No, I think this is how he's going to help bring profit. And then you also see Mark Cuban. I think there's some end game here. And I think the billionaire 1% class is desperately rooting for Musk to succeed because they realize, oh shit, the masses might turn on us. And Musk melting down is going to be even worse PR for us. So all the friends that I have are super wealthy, are openly kind of rooting for him and think that there's some kind of.
How many super wealthy? Look, I don't have any super wealthy friends. Who are you hanging out with when you're not a nerd?
I have one super wealthy friend, okay. And so that's what I think that's happening, right? Because the tribe has to protect its own. And I'll say this: I've lived long enough. I've traveled the world. The rich are their own tribe.
I think it genetically alters you when you become too rich.
The rich are their own tribe. The rich they take care of themselves. They take care of their fellow friends. They take care of their shared interests. I mean, I'll end on this, that there was this great video that came out a couple of months ago where the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, was gifted this multi-million-dollar car, and like Jay-Z and a few other people chipped in money to gift him this car. And I was like, this is such an exquisite, just beautiful microcosm of, or even the LA mayoral race where Karen Bass won. The multimillionaire Republican was supported by Snoop Dogg and Katy Perry. So the rich are their own tribe and they're rooting for Musk, even though the rest of us see Musk has this agenda to eliminate free speech, democracy, and the public square and empower these white nationalists who, and I'd love to talk about Nick Fuentes later, because I've been writing about him for 2 years. I'm so glad people finally discovered him. Nick Fuentes, ladies and gentlemen, is the present and future of the Republican Party. And it's very terrifying.
Along with Taylor Green. But I actually grew up in a fairly wealthy family. So one of the things about that always kind of blew my mind is rich people always get free stuff. It's just incredible that they could easily afford. Dean, so happy to have you. We don't have you here that much,
Sure.
so I want you to run with it. One question. I mean, address it if you want to or not. I just want to leave
Sure.
this one question out here. Why does it always feel like we're just at the mercy of things? Can't this shit be regulated or something? I mean, it just does feel like there's no effort made ever to. Sorry, Sebastian is trying to bite my toe off. No effort is ever made to towards sensible regulation.
Well, that's a great point. First of all, Mary, you're my super rich friend. So if you're not super rich, you're all I've got. You're the richest friend I have. At least your name.
Sorry to disappoint.
That's all I can tell. What? I can't believe it. I used to be friendly with Tom Steyer. We're not friends. I can't text Tom Steyer. He would come on my show.
All right, just for you, I'm going to try to get richer.
Try to get richer. Try to become a billionaire. And it was interesting though. Even when I had Tom Steyer on my show frequently, people thought I knew him. They're like, why don't you ask your friend Tom to start a brand new network or something? Like, he's not my friend. It's not like I text. He's a nice guy. So, look, getting back to Elon Musk, who is very interesting. Elon Musk really believes in free speech. Unless you criticize him, then you get fired. Or unless you're China, who he has, and there's been numerous articles about it, he has refused to criticize China. Right now, he's about free speech, but not a tweet about their crackdown on people who want to get out of the strict COVID.
But Dean, it's not even free speech.
No, but I'm just saying, of course not. Well, look, it is free. It's not First Amendment free speech. The idea of this Plato ideals of free speech, I guess you can make an argument for free speech. It's not First Amendment. You can't cite the First Amendment. There's no government action. We get that. But the point is, why doesn't Elon Musk criticize China? Oh, because it's his second biggest market. He's
Saudi Arabia
places there, and he knows that if he criticizes China, it's not like America where we go like, well, you criticize the government, that's what we do. No, it's over. There's no more business deal. You lose that market. So Elon Musk is not about free speech. Let me just say this, and when I conclude at the end in about 27 minutes, I'm going to come back to this very same point here. Elon Musk is no friend of the United States of America. I want people to understand that sincerely. I don't say it because he's a naturalized citizen or anything. I say that because he is not a friend of the United States of America. He's a friend of Elon Musk. He cares about Elon Musk. He was born in South Africa. He went to Canada. The Canadian dream didn't work out the way he wanted, I guess. He became a citizen there, then came to the U.S. and went to school here and was able to become a citizen here. We were his second choice at best. And I can assure you, as you're watching this, he won't end up in the United States. He will go somewhere else. He's sort of like in Independence Day where the aliens came with the ships and sucked all the resources out and then moved to another place. That's Elon Musk. He's an alien ship from Independence Day.
Oh, you mean like white people coming to America?
Or, maybe, if you want to. So, look, I saw Mark Cuban kind of criticize Elon Musk. The wealthy have their own world. It's a world that we don't even see. Like, it's a parallel universe, to be honest. Every now and then we have glimmers into it. But they live in a different universe, and they cheer for each other. That's true as well. I'm worried about Elon Musk that he's bringing back the white supremacists and neo-Nazis who threatened to kill me. And so it's very personal what's going on with Elon Musk. These people were banned. 2017, 18, Twitter starts cracking down, but the Daily Stormer, which was named after Der Stürmer, which was Hitler's favorite paper, for those people following at home, his favorite paper. Well, Andrew England and those guys fabricated tweets in my name saying I was involved in terrorism. They couldn't post it on Twitter, but they posted it in the Daily Stormer and said, go confront Dean, and tweeted at the time the same thing. And then they were banned, not just because of me, because of other people they targeted. Well, they never committed a crime. I sued them. I won $4.1 million.
Oh, then you're the richest person I know.
Nazi money. I got so much.
Dude, you're loaded.
They have no money. They're good at bigotry, not at investing. There was no money there. I couldn't get any money from them. It's on paper. It was to make a point.
It was the principle of the thing.
The most ridiculous thing is they decide is friends call me up and thought I had money. And they go, can you lend me money? I go, well, it's Nazi money. Do you want Nazi money? They all say the same thing. Yes, I want Nazi money. It really says a lot about your friends when you win Nazi money. I didn't win any money. The point
Dean is a failure of all immigrant children. I just want to say that. All immigrant parents right now are just weeping. Dean could have made.
Why? Because I won
Dean's
the
just
money.
a money launderer. That's what it is.
I have no money.
I wish you had gotten the money, Dean, to spend against them, because that would have been fun.
I was going to do it. I had pledged to
I'm
donate
sure
the
you
money
would,
to
knowing you.
organizations that fight bigotry. I had pledged to give the money. organizations that fight bigotry, including the Dean Obeidallah Inc. No, the actual lot of corporate. But my point is, just to wrap up here, it is personal. It is not this kind of game for people like myself and everyone who's from a marginalized or minority community. He's letting the people back on if they didn't commit a crime. Well, the neo-Nazis defame me. They cause emotional distress. But they never said online, go kill Dean. They never said, go harass Dean. They're not morons. They understand how it works. So they didn't commit crimes. So the Daily Stormer and Andrew Anglin will be back online. And they will play their games to gin up their base. And then they will just tweet about you. And then their followers, as they know, will come and attack you. And they'll say, that's not what we meant. And Elon Musk is going to let them back on. Because for Elon Musk's business model, having neo-Nazis, white supremacists, Holocaust deniers, anti-Semites, anti-Muslim bigots, anti-LGBTQ, vile, despicable bigots online is a good business decision. And that's how bad he is. So again, Elon Musk is no friend of the United States of America. And I hope people understand that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
it.
then thank you, Dean. I business decision and or just a way for him to surround himself with people who think all evidence to the contrary that he's cool and funny. Anyway, I think it's both, and it also does illustrate that he's kind of an idiot when it comes to business, considering he's lost 50 of his top 100 advertisers and may well get kicked. The Twitter app may well get kicked off of Apple, which I don't think it's a sustainable model. Although apparently he's going to invent his own phone, which I'm not really sure.
And then
how
he can
that
invent his
works.
own app too. His app.
Yeah,
store,
sure.
too.
I mean, that'll fly off the shelves. Hi, Sebastian. So Danielle, anything you want to say about this, but also I'm curious, and we can all answer this at one point or another. One of the worst things is obviously it's dangerous, but there is a real community that we all forged on Twitter. And that's a great loss. And so if you want to address that, and also your and there's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious how people feel about, staying versus leaving. What's the line that gets crossed that kind of makes you feel like you don't have any choice and we just have to leave?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things. One, we continue to think that Elon Musk is failing, and I want to say that is actually not the case. He is successful. He is being successful in his desire to destroy the world's town square. The idea that a billionaire can decide, over a casual, lunch, that he is going to buy an app that isn't just a social media platform. It has been a platform where, we have seen activists from around the world be able to organize, be able to tell the world what is happening, from China to Iran to Turkey to Ukraine to the United States to, everywhere. It has been an organizing tool for liberation. And so the idea that a one billionaire has the ability to squash that, it has been a source for journalists, for academics to be able to share their work, right? To share their analysis. This is, if the United States and if others had looked at Twitter not just as a social media platform, but as the public utility that it is, and treated as such, Elon Musk would have never been in the position that he is in to be able to destroy it, right? And that is the goal here. The goal is to destroy it. The goal is to decentralize information, to decentralize activation of democracy and liberation, so that the ultra wealthy can continue to control every aspect of our lives. So we need to just shift the narrative around him being an idiot and him not being successful, because he's doing what he intended to do and what he said he was going to do. It's the same way that I feel when we talk about Donald Trump and people want to say, like, oh, well, with the latest with dining with white supremacists and anti-Semites is, oh, he didn't know who was coming to Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Donald Trump can't at once be lifted up as this genius businessman and then this feeble-minded idiot that doesn't even know who the fuck is coming to dinner at his home, right? And also on that point, again, just to remind everyone that there were thousands of documents that were not supposed to be at Mar-a-Lago that he stole from the White House to a place that he is allowing anybody to be able to walk in off the street as if Mar-a-Lago is akin to a fucking 7-Eleven, right? So again, right, we continue to look at these very wealthy, very able fucking white men, and the media wants to either turn them into idiots, right, who don't know what they're doing, as opposed to the actual villains that they are, that are destroying democracy, that are destroying free speech, that are creating platforms and avenues for white supremacy and the rise of hate that we are seeing in this country and around the world. And so I just wish that we would stop having, stop thinking of these people and even joking around about like their idiocy, because yes, they are. I mean, if the fragility of Elon Musk's masculinity in his post the other day with the gun and the empty Coke cans, as if this billionaire is living in a Motel 6 and like, this is what you're like posting up. The idea that you are so fragile and so weak that you need to make replicas of video game guns and then put them next to your real guns because that's what makes you a man. We can have those conversations, but they are doing what they have been lifted up and intended to do, which is to decentralize power, take power away from the people, and make sure that it is certified in the hands of the ultra wealthy who only look after themselves, right? And lastly, there's a reason why they're all on rocket ships to outer space. And it's because they know that this rock that we're all spinning around on is on its last leg because of the ways that they've been able to get wealthy, right? Polluting and turning the earth into a trash can. And they're all on a spaceship building, modules to go into outer space because they're going to leave the rest of us behind so that we can actually be Elysium, that terrible movie that Matt Damon was in, but literally tells us what the future looks like, which is that the wealthy will be in outer space and the diseased and the poor will be on Earth. That's what they want.
Yeah, but right. And I just want to say it can be both. Donald is a fucking idiot. There's no doubt about it. And he's also a loser. But as I've said, it's similar to, Danielle, what you're saying about Musk. He's a loser, but what consequences has he faced? None. Like, he's just continued to fail up. Musk is an idiot. He didn't invent Tesla. He didn't invent Twitter. He just buys stuff because he's allowed to be so fucking rich. Part of the problem where he should have been ineligible from buying Twitter, because Twitter, like other social media, should have been regulated like other news sources are, but also because he should pay taxes and he wouldn't have been able to afford it probably. So I agree that his goal, he is definitely achieving one of his goals, but the business side of it, and granted he has money to burn, but he's burning other people's money too, and that's maybe where he gets into trouble. And I do want to shift gears, but I just want to say last, and obviously anybody else who hasn't commented on Twitter can, but I do want to shift gears to the other important topic. But the thing about Twitter too is, like, I never considered it a news source. I considered it a news aggregator that pointed me in directions I needed to go to be a very well-informed person. And that is a huge, huge loss. And the difference between Mar-a-Lago and 7-Eleven is 7-Eleven has better coffee. Anyway, Jen.
Fewer bed bugs too.
So just on that Musk thing.
Yeah.
There, and it was, this language, and we use with Donald, whenever people are sort of saying, oh, this person's an idiot, they're stupid, what that is not an assessment. It's more of their fear speaking. It's more of well, if I actually believe this person isn't intelligent, whatever that means, then I can believe they're not as much of a threat, because they couldn't possibly have either calculated things out into the future, which somehow some people think that makes people more effective in getting what they want if what they want is chaos, but they couldn't have calculated it, or they are so stupid that they don't realize whatever they won't work. And it's just sort of, I find it so unintelligent to even go in that direction, because obviously both Elon Musk and Donald Trump have been incredibly effective in getting what they want in life.
Yep.
And so this discourse around, is someone smart or not? Are they playing three-dimensional chess or not? Like, what the fuck? How many chess players are billionaires? How many chess players end up running? Hitler wasn't a chess player. So I don't think that this way that we slice at things, we have to ask these
Jen,
questions.
sorry. I want to speak to that because
Yeah.
it's such an important point. It comes down to ascribing motives, and we always get the motive wrong. They only want what's best for them, no matter how it makes them look to other people. They don't even fucking care about.
Right. And also this, and it's also, if you put yourself not literally, figuratively in someone's shoes or in their mindset, you'll kind of predict what they'll do next. And that's what terrified me unbelievably after Donald won, because having studied white collar criminals for so long, I understood his type, and I tried to understand what he would do next. And I have not really been wrong. And I think there are others who want to look at things through a particular other lens, and instead of looking at the person right in front of them. So that's kind of what I want to say. But I know Brian has something to say about Musk as well.
Yeah, Brian, about Musk, and then we are going to shift gears because we're almost halfway done. So Brian, go ahead, and then and then we'll move on to Cliff.
I'll be real quick. All this argument.
You don't have to be real quick. I'm just.
I will, because it's real easy. I'll be real quick about Elon Musk. We can think all that we want about him. Danielle, he is successful. He can play the idiot and the savant, and people buy it. But the bottom line is, let's give Elon Musk the benefit of the doubt. By golly, maybe he really wants to make the world safe for free speech and democracy. Well, he's failing, because you cannot be the voice of the people by merely being the cacophony of divisive voices who rely on facts of their own making. That's the fact. And that's what he's done by destruction of Twitter. So even if he is doing or wants to do what he claims he wants to do, he's a lying sack of shit. Now we can move on.
Yeah, I know Dean and Danielle, sorry, Cliff, but Dean and Danielle have to leave imminently. So I want each of them, Dean, you just wrote an article, a piece about Nick Fuentes. Danielle, if there's anything specific you have to say about that issue quickly. Dean, where can we find your article, and what is your one big takeaway?
Danielle, do you want to go, or did you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this on Nick Fuentes. I think that what has troubled me so much about this continued story in the press, once again, is the fact that we're not talking about Republican silence. And we're not saying that their silence is their complicity, because they all believe the same thing. They are aligned with Nick Fuentes. They are aligned with the way in which, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar have spoken at their rallies, at their events. Like, the reason why nothing is being said from leadership is not because they are being held fucking hostage by Donald Trump. They are willing accomplices. And I can't stand that fucking language either. Like, the Republican Party is being held hostage by Trumpism. Hostages are being held against their will.
That's
right? Hostages want to be free. The Republican Party is a well-funded, white supremacist organized hate group. And until the media starts actually articulating that and talking about them in that way, and saying that the reason why there is silence is because they are complicit, and because this is who they are aligned with, this is the base of their party, and talking about it like that, put them on the defensive. Make them come out and say, oh no, that's not us. Well, then show me, because no one needs to stand up and say, I am an anti-Semite or I am a racist. All you have to do is watch what they say, watch what they don't say, and watch who they rock with. And we know from the beginning who Donald Trump is, who the Republican Party is, because of who they have lifted up and who they continue to give voice to and give leadership positions to. Like, this is who they are. So we can stop pretending and being willfully ignorant that we don't know, or we don't know what's in their heart. We have a good idea.
Yeah. Dean? Sorry, Brian, Dean's got to leave. So I'm going to let him.
So I'll keep it very quick. I mean, I couldn't agree more with Danielle. And it's something, Mary, and you and I have talked to talked about so many times in the past, this media narrative that Republicans are silent because they fear Trump. The reality is they're silent because they agree with Trump. That's the reality. Either they agree with the actual toxic message, or they agree with Donald Trump is bringing people to our base that we need to win elections. So in either case, they're agreeing, they're complicit. Ron DeSantis, I tweeted out an article, I didn't write it, it's an article from a few months ago. Then twice this year, white supremacists expressed support for Ron DeSantis, and neither time did he want to denounce them. So it's not just Trump. Ron DeSantis is waiting. He's going to be worse than Donald Trump. He is smarter than Donald Trump. He is much more dangerous. So I just want to say that, and thank you. I wish I had more time, but thank you so much for having me on again, Mary. I'll come on more often. It's just pre-tapes
whenever you can.
My radio show.
It is an open invitation. Thank you so much, Dean.
Thanks, guys.
For
Thanks.
all
Nice
of your
seeing
great
all of
work.
you.
Good seeing you, buddy.
All right.
So on the media narrative, Mary, it's okay. We're the ones that are willingly being held hostage to the narrative because of ratings. The Republicans are held hostage in their mind. They are held hostage by the money. Gosh, we would love to come out and say something against these guys, but wow, they're making it possible for us to get money. So that's why they scream that that's their idea of why they're being held hostage. Now, is it bullshit? Yeah, that's like when my kid says, who broke the vase that fell off? Not me. I was just there. Gosh, I wish I knew. That it's bullshit. It's childish bullshit, and we allow ourselves to be taken advantage of that way. It's all about the money. Take the money out of it, out of politics. Take the money out of our ability to tell lies, and things will change. But not until then.
Well, it's dangerous bullshit. And, Cliff, I'm going to get you in here. I just want to frame this. Sebastian.
Sebastian's going to eat you.
Now
oh my gosh.
Oh.
Sebastian has logged off. Let me frame this, Cliff. We have a African gray parrot who has sabotaged the show. His name is Sebastian. The other thing to say is for folks wondering in the chat, that was a Honeycrisp apple that I had. I kept myself muted so it would not disturb the show.
And I want to make clear that I'm not Waj's rich friend, because as you can tell, I can't even get my shades fixed in my office. So I have to keep moving over this way as the sun moves so that you can see my entire face. So
Mary, do you like when I take over things? It's going really well.
I'm not Waj's rich friend.
See, Sebastian made a point there, Mary.
Part of the problem is Sebastian gets really jealous when I'm on Zoom. And I just didn't close the door all the way. So if I try to get rid of him, he'll just bite me, and it won't be fun.
Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian. Does he remember? Hey, Sebastian, I'm your friend Jennifer. Hey, turn around.
He's looking. Anyway, Cliff, before you start, I just want to frame this for everybody. For those of us who don't obsessively pay attention to everything that's going on. Donald, who is surrounded by government-employed Secret Service agents who vet everything, hosted on Thanksgiving of all days. I guess the Taliban weren't available. Hosted notorious anti-Semite Kanye West, the troubled black guy, as Donald refers to him, and Nick Fuentes, who's somebody I really try not to think about because he's so repulsive on which at 23 is quite an accomplishment, or 24, whatever. It's quite accomplished. Anyway, so Kanye, according to Donald, brought this guy. Donald didn't know who he was, who is a Nazi. He is a Nazi.
He denies the Holocaust. I mean, he's the real thing. We're not just, sometimes people think we're exaggerating. No, he really is a Nazi.
He's the worst of the worst. I don't know what it's called, but he hosted this thing at which both Paul Gosar, a Republican in the House, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the de facto leader in the House right now, they both spoke at Nick Fuentes' event of fellow Nazi Holocaust deniers. So, Cliff, the whole I didn't know, or I'm not saying anything, so everything must be fine. This is beyond infuriating at this point. That no matter what happens, we cannot seem to be able to pin these people down and hold them accountable and get rid of them. They should not be in the body politic.
Correct. And it always takes us back to the same place. And because my God, you've been listening to Donald probably in public, but in rooms in places for I don't know how many years. He uses the
Far
same
too many.
bullshit. Yeah, I can't even. He uses the same bullshit lines. I mean, it would be laughable if it weren't for the fact that Republicans and these around him, idiots around him, believe him, and the media chooses to just play dumb and accept these kinds of. I mean, remember
No,
he didn't know who David Duke.
We are dumb.
Yeah, he didn't know who
David
David
Duke was. Like, I wanted to make a whole list before this show, and I forgot. He has used that bullshit line at least a dozen times. I had no idea who that was. Who was that? I had no idea. It's always somebody like that. It's always the same thing. And the worst thing about this, he gets away with that because they just accept it. It's entertaining and it's clicks, as you said. But the worst thing about it, and why I get so angry, and why our media fucking sucks, and why the New York Times that sets the agenda sucks, is because not only have they done this, but they've now taken us a step further. You may remember Gozar and Marjorie Taylor Greene, at least when they spoke at that little twits, event. I was speaking like my British. I
was going to say, has the sun pushed you all the way to Great Britain?
It has. I lived in the
happening?
United Kingdom for a bit, and we use certain words there where I can't use here. I apologize for offending.
Just
anybody.
Don't say the C word, please.
Exactly.
That's all I ask you.
So we'll go back to Twit. I know I watched. When you sit there and you watch The Boys, he uses the C word a lot. So I will not use. I apologize seriously to anybody. No, not anybody who's offended. I just apologize. That's how you apologize. But like this little incel punk, Nick Fuentes, who's sitting there they have now normalized him because, Maggie Haberman, all of them sat there and they were like far right, agitator, and they tried to describe him in all of these ways. So whereas there was actual repercussions, they weren't much, but where at the time, McCarthy had to strip Marjorie Taylor Greene of her committee assignments because of the Jewish lasers comment, as well as her speaking at that event. Now nothing will happen. So we've now gone a step further.
No, she'll get promoted.
And so what's going to happen next time that somebody gets together with Nick Fuentes, any of them, right? Doesn't matter. Trump, whichever member of the Republican Party, Pence, whoever is, it's totally normal. It's been normalized now. No one's going to say anything. It's just acceptable now that he is a part of the Republican base. And so we've actually found a way to get worse this week, which, if that was possible, our media has found a way to get worse. Republicans have found a way to get worse. And the one other thing I just say, I mean, again, this is where the lack of like civics and lack of history, being taught in our schools, and the lack of just media doing their job and educating people. The fact that you saw on that little ridiculous airplane, Kanye, Milo, and Nick Fuentes sitting there essentially espousing the KKK line. I would have loved to see those three guys in the Indiana Klan when there was a resurgence in the 1920s, who, by the way, hated you if you were black, gay, or Catholic. Right?
I'm actually thinking Nick Fuentes is secretly Jewish because, he's
probably at least a quarter Jewish because he's got to do the Hitler thing. Right?
Nazis kind of hate black people and gay people as well as Jews. But
also, the resurgence of the Klan in the 1920s was against Catholics.
That's right.
And Fuentes is Catholic. So like these guys, there's just no understanding that there should be stories in the media about the backgrounds of these guys and how the old right that they are now kissing up to, they're now trying to be a part of, they would have killed them is what they would have done.
I'm sorry. I'm forgetting about Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller fits right in.
Oh, right.
So they have their Jewish.
He should join the three of them and go to a Klan rally and see how that goes over.
Why are we falling for Nick Fuentes' obvious plea to be just to get attention?
Who's falling?
24-year. We, the media. Why are we falling for it? Why aren't we vetting it? He's a 24-year-old with no experience, probably still lives in the basement of his mother's house, has a collection of old Playboy porn, and God knows what he does with his own socks.
He may read your stories in Playboy from way back.
I'm the excuse people get for buying the magazine.
Kidding with you.
But Brian, I mean, I hate to put it in these terms, but the leader of the Republican Party hosted this person, and he's already announced his 2024 run. That's like, how do you ignore that?
That's news. You cannot ignore it. How did he get the attention to come before Donald? That's the problem.
Stephen Miller, probably.
And how did he get the attention?
I don't know.
It's our fault.
I don't think Stephen Miller needed to.
No, we don't vet people. In the press, we don't. Someone stands up and they're put out as
because he hosted it. Wait, I'm sorry.
No, they stand them out as an expert, and we fall for it. We don't vet them. Look, this kid should be running laps on a football team. He'd never make a football team, but he's younger than my youngest child. I have no respect for anybody who puts him forward. I have no respect for him, and I have no respect for he has a complete lack of experience on any issue. He is 24 years old. He's an anti-Semite. Does he know any better? No. And I'm sorry, that sounds like the old man coming at you, but experience matters.
Of course,
and when we treat them as our own equals, that's our problem.
But Brian, this is what they do. That's how. What's his name? Ben. No. Ben. What's his name? Ben
Shapiro.
Thank you. Ben Shapiro was
another
this young kid. They get fine. You know, it's not the media didn't create Ben Shapiro. Yes, they definitely elevated him. They get funded.
They do. The right spends millions.
Nick Fuentes had an event. I don't think the media didn't give it to him, and he hosted Congress people and became news. I agree with you. He's a little punk who should never have been in this position, but he now has the ear of some of the most powerful people in the Republican Party, and the rest of the Republican Party is pretending he doesn't exist, which gives him even more power.
And see, in the old days, Mary, that would be where a 60 Minutes piece would come in. This would be a McCarthy hearing. This would be something in Congress. We don't.
Well, you're right about all of that, Brian. That's the media's falling apart.
Yes,
and not doing its job.
We do not vet people. We present both sides as being equal. Well, this side is equal to that side. That's not what it is. He is unvetted, untested, inexperienced, and has no clue as to what the world is really like. And yet we ascribe to him the same amount of respect that we would give to Joe Biden, for the love of God. We give him as much if he were to come out and say that's the problem.
It's just a downward spiral, though, of weak Republicans and the media reinforcing each other. Because when the media doesn't do what you're saying, Brian, and go after him, it allows Republicans to get away with not denouncing him. And then they don't denounce him. The media feels like they don't have to cut. Like it's just this downward spiral of ugly.
All of that is stipulated, Jen. But if the Republican Party roundly denounced this piece of garbage, I don't think we would be having this conversation, and I don't think he would be, even if Donald hosted him. I don't think he would have the kinds of access he is going to have now. And I'm talking about McCarthy and McConnell on down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can synthesize this kind of conversation or debate by saying that renunciation could also put people like Fuentes in their place in terms of saying, look, we're gonna talk about this now, but keep in mind we're not gonna always have an opportunity to denounce every 20-year-old with sort of whackpot, wacko, anti-Semitic, racist ideas, and the press shouldn't be elevating them either. But since this person dined with the leader of the Republican Party, who's also is only Republican who's announced their candidacy so far, it's important to make note of this and to dig into who's funding this guy, follow the dirty money and all this stuff. But to sort of, you can both speak about it and also, kind of condemn Donald for the company he keeps, I think there's a way to manage it. And I don't think ignoring things makes it better. And I will just say, as a Jewish person, one of the biggest frustrations and so much of this is we have always, as Jewish Americans, been cautious, and I'm speaking generally, but I think this would resonate with you, Cliff, as well, which is, on the one hand, we kind of don't want to draw attention to ourselves or complain about anti-Semitism because there's often the pushback, the backlash of, you're complaining and now you canceled us even before we used cancel. Now you're using all of your power to condemn us. And all we did was raise questions about how powerful you are. So see, so we don't like to get in the catch-22 of that. And we also are quite aware, not all Jews are white, but for white Jews, we're also aware of our privilege. And there's this, there are other groups in America who've had it worse in America. And so it's a complicated thing when you denounce anti-Semitism, and you just sort of see this, how it's happening now. The whole debate and conversation around Kanye West. Is it, is it powerful white Jews trying to destroy a Black voice? And what complicates, and I'm saying, well, no, that's not it. We're denouncing this call to violence and so on. And yet at the same time, Kanye has said incredibly racist things before, and there wasn't a backlash because of white power. And so, it's hard to own a lot of different identities at once. And while we struggle with this, sometimes we stay silent. And so I just want to, point out that it's difficult being a minority who has been persecuted before, but also in a fairly stable place in America. Anyways, I don't know if any of that makes sense.
I think that's really important. I'll just say quickly, Jen. I mean, and I'm someone who grew up in, not with a religious background at all, and even a little bit of a mixed family. So we had traditions, we had Christmas, we had stuff like that. But the thing is, I still was always taught the lessons, from my family, and I'm sure you heard these things too. And I think you started saying them, which is, don't stick your head up out there. Things are going well now, but it always can change. And if it does, we're the ones that are coming. I mean, especially my family were German Jews. I mean, it's about or a big chunk of them, not all of them. It's about as ingrained in you as it can be. That which is why I never understood, Jews who could get behind Donald Trump, get behind any kind of instability. Because even if you were selfish, I mean, there are a million reasons I couldn't get him behind him. I'm not a racist. I'm not a misogynist. I think people deserve a real wage and, all of that. But beyond that, even if I were just purely selfish, when instability comes is when bad people come knocking on our doors. That's what history teaches you. And so, even again, with my family's traditions that were not this sort of very exclusive Jewish family in terms of only doing, I went to Grace Church School in New York City, right? A Episcopalian school and all, but that lesson was always taught, which is the moment things get a little bit sort of unstable, on the moment, be careful, don't stick your head up. And, it feels like that right now. You got a guy sitting there in the Washington airport raising his arm and, and yelling Nazi stuff. You got that loser in Arizona who lost the Secretary of State candidate who lost, sent out a tweet that said, it's Soros's count, it's Soros's polls, it's Soros's, this. I mean, like 15 times he said that. I mean, yeah, I'd be lying if I said it's not getting a little uncomfortable out there if you're somebody, of our ilk, looking around and seeing what's being said in powerful places.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about two separate but interrelated issues. There's the media role, but there's also the Republican Party here. And this is not a defense of Donald, because he's as complicit as anybody. But for him, it's literally characterological. If Adolf Hitler came back and was nice to Donald would be like, he's my guy.
Especially if he gave him money.
Of course. I mean,
or wrote him love letters.
So, the fact that he doesn't care about the anti-Semitism because he shares it, or the racism because he shares it, it is not an issue. Is not an absolution.
Right.
But the Republican Party doesn't even have that excuse. They have the power, just not the will to do something. I can't believe I just said those two words. Anyway, just thinking about Nietzsche, apparently. They're
in favor of a blonde beast roaming the land, conquering us all.
They just care about their power, and they'll get it no matter what they need to do in order for that to happen. Hang on one second. I just want to say that, I think one thing we haven't spoke about is, and then Jen, go ahead, is the context in which the media so often fails us, is their refusal to educate people. Anti-Semitism has been on the rise in this country since Donald came onto the national stage 6 years ago. I mean, not that, you know what I'm saying, entered the political fray 6 years ago. And there is something uniquely dangerous about anti-Semitism. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying it's uniquely dangerous historically. And for the media to fail to help people understand what that means, because, you know, I grew up in New York City. Like you know, like at least, I don't know, a big percentage of the Nerd Avengers are Jewish. Like my friends growing up, my friends know, and it's kind of shocking to realize that the percentage of Jewish Americans is really tiny. It's tiny. It's less than 5%, I think.
About 3%, I think.
You know, so it's just another dangerous myth, that it's easy for those of us, you know, who live in the coastal elite places, don't, you know, forget about. So because of, you know, what our day-to-day lives look like and what our circles look like. Anyway, Jen, go ahead. And welcome back, Wash and Danielle.
Thanks. So I'm, you know, sometimes I peek over at the comments and there's a comment by someone and I'm confused what it means. So maybe they can clarify, but they wrote, these people should be careful what they wish for. Look what happened in Germany. So I don't know if that could mean these people like me and Cliff as Jews, or maybe it means these people, the Republicans, should be careful what they wish for. But either way, I actually don't think they give a fuck. If you look at what Jenna Ellis said.
Oh my God.
I need to give an update. You know, she had said about the murder of the people at the bar in Colorado, the LGBTQIA bar. She said, well, you know, they're going to hell anyway. They didn't accept Jesus as their savior. And I had put something up on Twitter at that time saying, you know, this is, you know, there's so many things wrong with this, but, you know, if you want to believe in hell, that's great. Not everybody does. And so it's also almost justifying their murders. And her comments on Twitter was, see, for all these people who claim they don't believe in hell, then why are they so upset? It's obviously true that they believe in eternal damnation. That's why they feel guilty about their sins. And about basically, and that's not what it is. What it is when you say that people are going to hell and they're not worthy of your heaven, what you're encouraging is here on earth violence against them. That's the story. And I think we need to make this connection. I am very much freedom of religion person. I think Christianity is a beautiful religion, just like I think Islam is. And when I look at the texts of these religions, I mean, I think the Sermon on the Mount, when I first got to read it as a text, not as a religious text, I'm impressed with this socialist long-haired, you know, dude from the Middle East
with darker skin and darker eyes.
Right.
And,
yeah. I mean, it's really cool. So that, I mean, those texts are interesting, and there's messed up stuff in all these different texts, but people should be free from their atheism. Is that right? Atheism. That's great too. I'm very much a believer in celebrating the different ways people live their human experience and the mysteries and sort of terror of what mortality is. Right. I don't have the answers, but I don't happen to subscribe in those ideas. And it's not about those ideas. You know, for adults who are old enough to use common sense and reasoning, it's about controlling people here on earth and justifying violence. And so anyway,
it's different, Jen.
So I'm curious if people in the chats have a response to whether that was I don't know what they say. I don't know what that meant. Anyway,
the real quick, what you miss about the evangelicals, and they're the ones you have to worry about as far as Christians go. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your religion. They don't give a shit about what you think. Their idea of freedom of religion is for them to be free to proselytize for their faith against you. And by the way, in the White House, when Trump was in the White House and they were there talking about making Jerusalem the capital of Israel, it's all about bringing about Armageddon.
Right. They want Jen and I back in Israel.
The end of the world.
Rapture could come.
You're going to go to hell, and they're going to heaven to their enlightenment. So nothing you say is ever going to impress them or make a difference to them because they just don't.
I'd just like to point out quickly that when they do go up and I'm left here, I'm taking all of their valuable stuff.
Absolutely. Hang on one second. I just want to say that, first of all, Like if I tell somebody to go to hell, it means nothing. It means I'm mad at them, but it doesn't. I don't believe in hell. So if somebody actually believes in hell and they tell you you're going to hell,
I
that's
gotta go
actually
to Mar-a-Lago.
a thing to. Well, that yikes. Wouldn't wish that on anybody except the people who go there. But you know, a large part of the problem here is that a certain brand of Christianity has infiltrated our government to a dangerous degree that two of the most important issues we're looking at now. Well, I can't think of the second one. So just one of them, abortion rights. People who are against abortion rights only have a religious argument. And that is having a huge impact on the way laws are made. And that's not how it's supposed to be. Danielle?
Yeah, so Jen said that I missed some crossover stuff. So I want to say just a couple of things. Anti-Blackness, anti-Semitism, anti-trans, anti-gay, all of it is a Venn diagram of hate.
Yep.
All of these people are cut from the same cloth. So when they try and create this crabs in a barrel dynamic, that this oppression Olympics, right? And we allow for them to do that and to justify it, we miss what the larger game is here, right? Which is the white evangelical Christian, white supremacy, white Christian nation that they want, right? Which has everyone else who is not subscribed to that orientation be subjugated to oppression and second-class citizenry and all of these things. And so, you know, any time that I personally, and I grew up on Long Island, and so I grew up with, you know, a lot of Jewish friends, and, you know, and have had the privilege of, you know, working at JCCs and sending my younger cousins to JCCs for preschool and like learning about the Jewish faith and culture. And, you know, and like Jen, I am not a person that subscribes to any organized religion, but I absolutely love, you know, the text that hasn't been bastardized from various religions, right? But I want people to understand that hate is hate is hate. Whenever we see an uptick in anti-Semitism and an uptick in anti-Blackness and an uptick, it is all happening for these same marginalized groups that have always been demonized. And so what I would love is that whenever we see it in one place, that we would always elevate the reality that it is connected, that this is the Venn diagram, that this actually that this actually isn't about these individualized groups. It's about oppression as a whole and what evangelicals have wanted, right?
Yeah.
Which is the return to slavery, the demonization of Jewish people, the erasure of queer people, you know, the demonization of Muslims, like, you know, and to create that world of fear and hate. So I want us to be able to recognize like the game that is being played and who the pawns really are.
Yeah, and Jen and I talked about this.
When you go to hell, that's all it is. Slavery, they don't care about. All they care about, they're a death cult. They believe that at the end of the day, they are going to survive, and they're going to bring about the apocalypse or Armageddon any way they can, because they believe they are the chosen people. They're going to heaven, and the rest of it.
Brian, it's not.
Just
You can't
hang on a
reduce
second.
it.
Hang
It's
on a
all
second.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to say, first of all, I don't give a shit what they believe. They don't care what we believe. They don't.
I don't either, but
care.
I'm just trying to
care about how
understand them.
dangerous and how dangerous they are because of how empowered they've
That's
become
true.
by one of our two major political parties. Waj, I want you to weigh in on this issue. I went really quickly. I just want to say that Jen and I spoke offline about a similar issue to what Danielle just laid out, and it's this. If you are a person with any basic human decency, you should care as much about the rise in anti-Semitism, the perpetual racism, the misogyny, the homophobia, the anti-Muslim hatred, the anti-immigrant hatred, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as much as you would if you belong to one of those groups. Yes, I am not Jewish. I do not have a personal experience. My family wasn't slaughtered in the Holocaust, which Nick Fuentes, you piece of shit, absolutely happened and killed millions of people. But, and even if it weren't the case that most of my friends are Jewish, I should care as much about people being targeted by their identities, whether they're cultural or genetic or chosen, than I would if I or my daughter belonged to one of those groups. That's what allyship should be about. Sorry, I'm just like so angry again. Waj, help me out. Well, you're not. Wow, you're going to make me less angry.
As your friendly neighborhood Muslim and the practicing religious person of the Nerd Avengers, the one who will be saved and go to heaven, as I tolerate all you godless heathens.
You're
I'm
not
a practicing Jew. Stop.
You're not going to throw a rope.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jen. So Jen,
yeah, I mean, oi.
Jen and I look down upon you, but don't judge you. I will say this. I'm just kidding, folks. Look, so the question often, I just want to connect the dots as building upon what everyone's saying, because what's common to us, unfortunately, isn't common to most folks. For some of us who have to swim in these dank Republican swamps for the past God knows how many years, we have been trying to warn folks about what's at play. 2 years ago, almost has been 2 years, Paul Gosar, congressman from Arizona, skipped a vote in the House. That's his job as a congressman, on a stimulus bill to go be the keynote speaker at Nick Fuentes' white nationalist rally.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Yeah, a few of us tried to write about it, tried to connect the dots. The reason why I've been trying to sound the alarm almost every week about the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar and Wendy Rogers spoke at this conference a couple of months ago and were not denounced is because we realize that the GOP is normalizing a radicalized, weaponized movement that will unleash terrorism against the rest of us. And I know you guys have heard the deep state and QAnon before, but it's important to know what it really means. They believe that the Jews, Jen and her people, are part of an international cabal, the nerve center, using the rest of us to deliberately weaken the Western civilization and the white race. The reason why the Jews are the nerve center is because they are so smart. They're so advanced and so cunning. And Danielle and I, the darkies, are so savage, so beastly, so inferior that we have to be used by the Jews to do their work. Not only is it black people, because he's an anti-black racist. They call them savages and criminals. The Jews, part of the globalists who control everything and want to, emasculate men and remove Western Christian civilization. The feminists, who are specifically emasculating men by demanding, equal rights. The Muslims, who are now a top 3 threat in the past 20 years because we have the numbers and apparently represent a theocratic threat to their theocratic destiny. And also LGBTQ. And the reason why we have to keep reminding people about what happened at Club Q is when given a moment to pause, lower the temperature, and say, you know what? This is a step too far. Our mainstreaming of the groomer and QAnon conspiracy is radicalizing people to violence. I want people to pay attention in the past 2 weeks what the Republican Party and its enablers have done. The next day, Tucker Carlson spent his entire show tripling down on the groomer conspiracies, right? Tim Pool tripling down, Jenna Ellis. They didn't apologize. Just like what happened with Paul Pelosi. Instead of saying, yo, this is a step too far, the conspiracy that radicalized David DePape, I think that was his name, they followed up with another homophobic conspiracy that will radicalize more folks. So if you've been paying attention, Jews, black folks, immigrants of color, Muslims, women, LGBTQ+, and anyone who's against them, that means liberals, are all part of the deep state. When Donald Trump, the presumptive nominee for the 20...
it is a majority rules.
Yeah, but when Donald Trump, the president, right, the former president and the presumptive nominee of the GOP, ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget this. I'll believe it when I see it when it's DeSantis, meets with Kanye, who, by the way, people are forgetting, DEFCON 3 against Jews, Kanye. People are just casually forgetting that. And Nick Fuentes. And when Hugo Lowell of The Guardian says that the aides told Donald Trump, you have to renounce him, and Donald Trump said, I won't do it because it'll alienate some part of my base. Ladies and gentlemen, We are dealing with a radicalized, weaponized movement that has completely mainstream KKK, Nazi, and white nationalist talking points. It has taken over an entire party.
And very often in the name of religion, which is
in the name of religion,
awesome.
because the end goal, and this is where religion comes in, and this is important. Another thing that we've talked about on this show that media does not talk about, the end game is a Christian theocracy. It's Christian nationalism. It's tied like this with white supremacy.
Yeah.
And there was a beautiful report that came out that people did not read, which talked about how Christian nationalism inspired in part the January 6th violent insurrection. So I know you guys have talked about this a lot. I just wanted to connect the dots. And the reason why I write about this or tweet about this almost daily is because Danielle and I have the joke on our podcast. They're like, we're like the black and brown Paul Revere, but instead of seeing us heroes, they just shoot us off the horse and call us crazy.
Yeah. And I'm an atheist, so nobody cares what I think about anything. So, what are you going to do? I think that, I totally agree. Mitch McConnell's goal is to turn the United States into a theocratic apartheid state. I absolutely believe that. And the minority being white Republicans. But I think we're definitely going to have to, hi Cap. We're definitely going to have to pick this up. I'd love to have somebody like William Barber on to talk about this. He's awesome. And I think we also need to start connecting this explicitly with Q and other conspiracy theories, because I think those kinds of things just kind of soften the ground for people to become more paranoid and more easily manipulable. I know we're running late, but really quickly, because I said we were going to do this earlier, and it's important. I want to take the temperature here. I just want to know, are you guys staying on Twitter? And if so, what is the line that gets crossed that's going to push you out? And can we please come up with a unified strategy so when that time does come, if it comes, we go out and hopefully take the whole thing down with us. So Jen, let's start with you.
So until this morning, I had not been on Twitter.
Twitter. Because you're a Twitter quitter. That's why.
I quit Twitter on Thanksgiving, and
that's what they call a Freudian slip.
And threw my attention into Mastodon and Post. And then I felt guilty because I feel like I need to promote. I'm bringing in a lot of great guests to my podcast that launches this Sunday on my birthday. It's called Booked Up with Jen Taub. Please go to Apple or Spotify in your app and follow and listen to the trailer. Anyhow, and I just thought, who am I kidding? I have to promote this on Twitter. That's just how it works. So I did go on and put up something about that. And I think that I just put it in the chat, but the tweet says, "Hey, Rocket Man, Elon Musk, before you burn this place to the ground, could you please promote my podcast called Booked Up with Jen Taub? Thanks. And I'll send you a pony if you do." So I feel like, look, I fucking hate it there now. And I really wasn't going to go back. And I think it was right before he announced that he's letting everybody back on. And I think it was the right over the time when he tweeted the 88 million thing, which 88, for all you know, if you don't know that, that's a letter H, 88. And people have tattoos with this white supremacist. It means HH as in Heil Hitler. And I reached my limit. And then, being a Jew and everything, I need to make money. So I no, I'm kidding. I'm not making money on my podcast. That's a joke that if there were not only Jews around, anyway, we could joke about. I shouldn't.
Jen and I met privately to discuss our investments before the show.
No. But I felt, in fairness, I have some really great people coming on, and they expect me to promote the show and promote their books. And anywho, and the pony joke has to do, when he asked the flight attendant for a sexual favor and offered her a pony. So I thought that'd be funny. Anyhow,
although it could be taken the wrong way.
But the answer to this is, I don't know, Mary. I'm hoping that Elon gets sick of this and quits. That's my hope.
Okay. I just really quickly want to say that part of what I was thinking is that if and when the time comes, we all just send out this exact same tweet that is something that mocks Elon Musk, and then we just go dark.
Yeah.
Brian?
I will never leave Twitter. I have had my life threatened by these SOBs. I've been jailed to keep my press pass. I'm not giving a fucking inch to these mothers. Sorry.
Yep.
I will
Yep.
never, ever, ever. And as far as I'm concerned, Elon Musk is a twit. He is the chief twit, and I will be there to torture him as I tortured Donald Trump. So, by God, I understand everybody who wants to leave, but as quick as I can, and I feel it and I understand it. I'll be the guy that'll sit there with the sword and slit throats until the very end. Then you can come drag my dead, dull carcass out and burn me in effigy or whatever you want. But I'm not going to go. I'll
bring the snacks for that party.
Yeah, that's it. And I just encourage everyone to stay and slit throats with me. It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, Danielle.
So I've gone back and forth. I don't spend a ton of time on Twitter anymore. I used to spend hours and hours a day on Twitter, as many of us did. And I don't do that. I go on, I say the hot shit that I'm thinking that day, and then I leave. And then I go into the DMs to talk to all of you and see what you're thinking and doing. And then I go about, the rest of my day. So I feel Brian on this, which is I'm not going to allow anybody to push me off of the platform. So if it implodes, right? I'm going to use it for what I use it for, which is to gather information, which is to connect with like-minded people, which is to promote, the 75 shows I host. That's what I use it for. And I think that if you can, for as long as you can quiet out the noise and, continue to use it as a tool, then there's no reason to leave. Elon Musk exists in every fucking space.
Yeah.
Right? These people exist everywhere. So unless you're just going to decide to live on a commune somewhere until they come there to torch that, I don't know, who we're running from and where we're running to. But the reality is that, we need to use it for what we go there to use it for and shut it off for what it is not useful for.
Amen.
Yeah.
Love you, Danielle. Great.
I was a fat kid growing up in the 80s, and I was forced to wear husky pants. And if anyone knows that knows it's daily torture, right? So I was it's World War III every day.
Wait, plug your book. Plug your book.
And so
plug your book.
It said, yeah, you could read about my book, and also go and hear about it on December 19th on our sold out show in LA with Mary and myself and Jen and a super friend. You could probably get a couple of tickets, scalp them. It's sold out though. But I say this because I made a vow at the age of, I think, 21 that I would never be intimidated by anyone. And I've stuck to that vow. And the way I respond, and everyone's different. I agree with Brian. Everyone has to do their own temperature check. But I have really tough skin. And I refuse to bend the knee to bullies. And I oftentimes find that bullies are the most insecure, terrified people on earth.
Amen.
And instead of acting like Daffy Duck, I try to act like Bugs Bunny. Because Yosemite Sam always went after Bugs Bunny, who was minding his own business. And then Bugs Bunny used their own traps against them and did a wisecrack and ate the carrot and kissed the pretty bunny girl at the end. So that's how my response to Elon Musk and white nationalists on Twitter is that I will use the platform to connect with the rest of you, to promote our show and Jen's podcast and Danielle and I's podcast and my book that you should read and all of our books that you should read. And
my YouTube channel.
And Cliff's YouTube channel. And also, it's a great news aggregator still. And until we find a new place, when you all decide, let me know, then I'll come there. But to expose these folks, to mock them, to disrobe them, to minimize them, it's a victory for oftentimes the marginalized folks and people of color. And I oftentimes realize I'm not going to convince them, but I know there's a global audience watching. That's my audience. And so if I can empower those folks to stand up and confront them, that's why I stay on Twitter. So I'll be the guy playing the violin on the Titanic, even though I don't play violin.
Yeah,
and the sword, you got the violin. Of course, you know this means war.
Yes, and before I get to you, Cliff, I just want to say a couple things really quickly. One, block people and don't read comments. I like the comments have gotten fucking brutal. And the other thing I say, when I was 21, I promised myself I would never do anything that I dread. It didn't work out very well. Cliff.
That's a show right there, Mary. You got to do
well.
We're going to have to list those things at some point.
Yeah. Tell
We
us
don't
more.
have enough time.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I
I'm
love you, by
staying.
the way.
I'm staying. My whole view is, and maybe it's just the way I was brought up, or who I am from the inside. I fucking hate bullies, and
Yeah.
I used to choose, to go on those debates on TV and those stupid shows and fight with them just because it was there. And I just, when people lie and they come in and share disinformation and in bad faith, and they attack people, marginalize people who have even smaller accounts and can't say anything back, it makes me want to punch, rhetorically anyhow, punch them in the face. So, I won't be chased off. I'll stay on there. I will say to people, the only one I've found so far on there on post is Jen. But
Yeah, I'm
it's
still
like
on the
it's
waiting
like
list.
a whole different world over there of like not Nazis and people responding nicely. And so I'll say, I'm at Cliff Schechter on there like I am on Twitter. I would say to people, you can do both. Like I go over on post, so I spend a lot. So like what Danielle was saying, I spend a lot less time on Twitter now. You can go to post and it's like you're going to that nice spa and relaxing and enjoying yourself, whatever. And like then I'm like, now I'm gonna go play that fucking football game in the mud, in the rain, and all of that. And I jump in there and I punch as many Nazis rhetorically in the face as I can. So to finish up, I'll say what Waj was saying. Like I'll also be playing. I'll be the band sitting on, as the iceberg has hit. He'll have to kick me off for me to leave. But I think for your mental health, find other places to be too.
I didn't know you could play the violin.
Guitar. So I'll be doing a rock and Jimi
We'll
Hendrix
have a
version
little
of it.
band playing while the ship goes down. But listen, again, no judgment. Some of us get used to, thanks Waj. Some of us, get used to the comments. Some of us don't have to put up with the kinds of vile, racist, anti-Semitic comments that other people do. So, we don't know what people are putting up with. So I'm not judging anybody. But I would say that if you can't, just feel like you can't do 20 or more, just don't delete your account yet, because that way, like, Jen, she can pop back in when it's, because I'm also a believer in using the platform against them.
It's part of the information war.
Some people do that with Facebook ads, and I understand why. So, let's just, as long as it's possible, let's just keep the fight going there. And again, it's a huge loss of community that I'm not looking forward to. So let's postpone that as long as humanly possible. So that is it for today. As Waj mentioned, our December 19th show at Dynasty Typewriter in Los Angeles is sold out. Which is cool, which is very cool. That's very actually cool. 3 weeks from yesterday. So, we will be scalping tickets like Ticketmaster. So I think we've got, I think we set aside some tickets to scalp for $57,000 or something. I'm not sure, but don't quote me. Anyway, so thank you to Dean Obeidallah, Wajahat Ali, Brian Karem, Danielle Moodie, Cliff Schechter, Jen Taub. Thank you, my nerds, so much. Thanks, everybody listening. Actually, I'm going to talk to you guys who are listening on the other end of the music. But thank you to my nerds so much for being here, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, Mary.
You too. I almost got rid of you sooner than I was supposed to. Sorry about that. Anyway, I thought that was a great show. I thought it was worth spending a little extra time because both the Twitter issue and the rise of anti-Semitism, or I should say the public embrace of anti-Semitism in the Republican Party, are two issues that are vitally important to what's going on in our world right now. So thanks to the Nerd Avengers. Thank you to all of you. Thank you also to everybody who bought a ticket to the show. I'm so excited and for that, and grateful to you for coming out to support us out there, hoping again that it's going to be the first of many, many live shows. So we'll keep you posted on when we start adding other cities and towns. Let's see, we've got our Tuesday show coming up. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/Politicon. My guest this week is Asha Rangappa. I've been wanting to talk to Asha for a long time, so I'm really excited about that her work. And also she's got a new Substack called the Freedom Academy, which I highly recommend that you check out. And then of course, obviously next Tuesday, we'll be back here with the Nerd Avengers. That's 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Also at youtube.com/Politicon. And while you're on Politicon's YouTube page, please subscribe to Politicon. It doesn't cost anything. And like the show, leave a comment, click on that bell so you're sure to be alerted anytime a new video drops. And obviously you can listen to the show in podcast form on Apple or anywhere you get your podcast. So that is it for us today. That was a great show, and I so appreciate you being here. And of course, I always appreciate my nerds. So that's it. Thanks, guys. I will see you Thursday. Do not miss the show with Asha. It's going to be amazing. And in the meantime, please stay safe and be kind.
Thank you.